Okay, in Math 20 today, we're going to talk about data and statistics. So the first vocabulary word that we need is mean. So mean, I remember mean because mean is the meanest. It's another word for an average. It's a type of average where we add all numbers and divide by the number of numbers. I'm just using that hashtag for numbers. This isn't really just means numbers, okay? Number. All right, so for example, let's say you got an 80 and then you got a 70 and then you got a 90 on 3 exams. If we wanted to find the average of those 3 or the mean, we would add up those 3 numbers and we would get a total. So we would take the sum first, okay, by how many there are. So we would be dividing this then by 3. Since there are 3 scores, we'd want to divide it by 3. So we have, if we add all that up, so let's get out our calculators if you want, or maybe you could do mental math, but let's do 80 plus 70 plus 90. We get a total of 240 points for all 3 tests. But you know, yes, then you divide it by 3. Exactly. So we divide by 3 and we get an average of 80. Now, before I even did that math, could you kind of tell from the test scores that it was going to average to 80? How did you know? What were some clues? Yes?
Well, if you take away the zeros, then you just got well, if you take away the zero, you've got 24 divided by 3.
Right. 3 going to 24. Yes, but I was even suggesting that if we look at these numbers, now if you think about it on a number line, here's 70, here's 90, in the middle is 80. So if you got a 170, 190, and 180, in the middle is the 80. So the average is really going to find you that middle number. The mean is going to find you the middle number between all of your numbers. So that's why the 80 is the same as the mean. So mean, I remember it because it's mean. I have to do a lot of work. It's a lot of work to add up numbers and then divide. So that's mean, isn't it? Okay, so for median, now median sounds like it might remind you of something. Yes, it is the middle. It's the number in the middle, and that's just like when you're driving on the freeway, there's a median to keep, you know, going down the middle to keep the ongoing traffic from running into you. So the median means the middle, and if we had these same test scores, 80, 70, and 90, they're first not in order. So I wouldn't take 70 because 70 is not in the middle of those. We want to order them first. So the first step is going to be to write them in order and then find the middle. So 80 goes in the middle, 70 comes first, 90 comes next. So 80 is in the middle, and so 80 is going to be also the same as the mean for this set of data. It's the middle number, so the median here would be 80. 80 is the median. Okay. Actually, I was going to go to mode. I think I'm going to skip mode for a second because what happens, this is an odd number of data, odd number of numbers, so it makes sense that 80 is in the middle, but what if you scored 80, or actually let's say you scored 85 on the next quiz and we wanted to find the average. So 70, 80, 85, 90. Now I have 2 middle numbers. If I have an even number of numbers, I'm going to have 2 numbers in the middle, right? Exactly. You basically find the mean of these 2 numbers. So you'd have 80 plus 85 divided by 2. This is going to be our median, okay? Because we have an even set of data. So we're going to go 80 plus 85, which gives us 165. And we want to divide that by 2 because we have 2 numbers. And so our median is equal to 82.5 is the median there. Does that make sense how we find the median if we have an even set? It's really easy when we have an odd set. Okay, now we're going to talk about the next one is the mode. And most. So mode has an O, and so does most, the one that occurs the most. So I'm just going to make up some more data. We're going to think about our test scores. 70, let's say you had a lot of tests. 80, 85, 90, 70, 60. What's the mode of this data here? Mode is 70 because it repeats the most twice, okay? Let's go ahead and do another set of data. So let's say just some random numbers. 6, 7, 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, these are not in order, but can we still figure out which one occurs the most? Yes, 5 and 4. So we call that, when we have two modes, we call that bimodal. It just means two modes. Bi means two. Okay, I have two numbers that occur the most in my set of data. Okay, what if I let's make up another set of data, because this is some like what if scenarios. What about, what's the mode back here for this set of data? Is there a mode for 70, 85, 80, and 90? No. Here, because no number repeats, there's actually no mode. Okay? So we can have more than one mode, we can have one mode, or we can have no mode. Okay? No mode. Mode. Yes, it is a funny word. Okay, let's do a little bit of problems. You know, a lot of you guys are asking me about grades because you have your, you know, finals coming up right now. So let's imagine for a minute that you have your test scores are 70, 80, and 90. What did we say the median, or sorry, the mean was from the last page? The mean of these numbers would be 80. Okay, now let's say so how many points? We had 200, and so if you have, let's say you have 4 tests to take, okay? Each is worth 100 points. How many points are total? Yeah, how many total points? So the total points would be 400, okay? Your current average is an 80. So how many, if let's say you wanted to bump your grade up to a 90, is it possible? What would you need on test 4 to get 90% average? Okay, so how could we figure that out? Any thoughts about how we might be able to figure that out? We know how many points we have. Do we know how many points we would need in order to get a 90? There's a lot of different ways to approach this problem, but you're going to see this problem on the activity. So let's think this through for a minute. Any thoughts about what we could do? Well, how many points do you have total? Current total is actually 70 plus 80 plus 90, right? Was the 240 points is what you have? Yeah? How many points are total in the class? So if you got 100 on everything, you would have 400. How many points would you need in order to have a 90? So if you had 400 points total, that would be 100%, right? Can anyone tell me how many points would I need to have total to get 90%? So what's 90%? So the question is really 90% of 400 is, do you remember this from our percent time? How could we answer this question? Huh? Yes, the fish method, I love it. 90% of 400. What's 10% of 400? 40. What's 40? So 10% of 400 is 40, right? So 90%, wouldn't that be 40 times 9? Times 9 would give us 90%. Or we could set up the proportion. Okay. So let's do the proportion. 90% is 90 out of 100. We don't know what number it is. That's out of 400 total. So if we did our fish method, right? A lot of people like this. 360. And if you worked this out, this proportion, it'd be 90 times 400 equals X, and then we would divide by 100, right? This was what we were talking, some of you were doing it this way. Multiply, divide. Oh, my fish is kind of backwards. It's essentially cross multiply. Apparently I don't know how to draw a fish. Okay, so 360. So if you have, now right now, currently you have 240 points, but you would need 360. So how much would you, subtract. So 360 is the points you would need for a 90% average. You have 240 currently, and so you would need 120 points on test 4, and that, she went, the bonus points. There you go. So if you got everything right plus extra credit, right? So you need 20 points possible of extra credit. Really close to it. Okay? Yes. Right. Right. Okay. So, and then let's just talk a little bit about data, okay? So for the data portion, I basically went over how you could do these ones. Well, let's just go ahead and do these, and then we'll do the data portion. So right here it says Tony earned the following on his 5 tests. Answer the following. What is the mean of his test scores? So how are we going to find the mean here? Tell me what to do. Yeah, 92 plus 87 plus 68 plus 70 plus 70. And then we're going to divide that by what? 5. Okay? If you put that in your calculator all in one step, you would have to have parentheses. So usually we just go ahead and add them and then go ahead and divide by 5. So here we have 92 plus 87 plus 68 plus 70 plus 70 equals 387, and then we're going to divide that by 5. Why 5 anyway? Yep, 5 test scores. And I just wrote 5 even though I was meaning to write 4. So 77.4. Did you all get that when you did that? Okay, what is the mode of his test scores? 70. That's the one that occurs the most. So mode is a type of average as well. These are actually all 3 different types of averages. But it's just like, well, what is, most consistently he's scoring 70%. What is the median of the test scores? So what do we need to do first before we can find the median? Put them in order. Yes, we want to put them in order first. So tell me what number goes first. 68 followed by 70, then another one, and then, good, and 92. So we first put them in order. Now since there's 5, that's an odd number, it's really easy to find the middle number, and the median means the middle. So the median here would be 70. Okay. If the next test is worth 100 points, what will Tony need to score on the next test to have a mean of 80? Okay, right now his mean is 77. So what does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean if he did have an average of 80? How many points would he have total? Yeah, six tests, right? So 6 tests times 80 points that he received on average would be how many total points? 80 times 6. Yeah, 80 times 6 would be 480. How many points does he currently have total? So his current points is 387. He would need to score a what on the next test? On the next test, he needs, and you said 93? Oops, 93. Now, if we wanted to double check that our math is correct, what could we do to find out if he really did get a 93 on his next test? Yes, we could find the average. So we could say 387 plus the 93. What would we be dividing that by? How many test scores? One more, because this is the 6th one, right? So if we add that back together, so the 387 plus the 93, because this was his former total, would give us the 480 divided by 6 gives us an average of 80. Or a mean. Okay. Here's a similar one. If the next test is worth 200 points, what will Tony need to score to get a mean of 80? Because think about your final. The final is worth 200 points. So it's actually worth more. How many points would we have altogether? Here it was only worth 100. Now it's actually worth 200. So how many total points do we have? Total points would be 600 points. 80% of that, 80% of 600 is, or we could have done 6 times, well, if we did 6 times 80. Yeah, why 700? So the total points, he had 5 that were worth 100. He has 1 test that's worth 200. Sorry, this would be 700 points total. Does everybody understand why we got 700 instead of 600? So if I have 80 on all my tests, that's something like, so here you could go 700 times 0.80 or 80 times 7. Either way, this is actually the same calculation. You'll see that you get the same number. So 700 times 0.8 gives us 560. This is all 560, right? How many points does he have currently? Still 387. Yes. 560 is the total needed, right, for 80%. Currently he has 387 is the current points, and we subtract that, 560 minus 387, and we get 170, I don't know why I wrote a 6, 173 points on the 200-point test. It's just more points. So instead we went from having 6 tests to now having, basically that final is counting for another test since it's worth 200 points. In just a minute. Okay, so let's look at the graph on the next page. And this is not a bar graph. The bar graph shows, this is more of a scatter plot, but Imagine we had bars, and it would be, if we wanted it, yeah, this is really, if you connect the dots, you would have a line graph. If you drew bars there, now it's a bar graph, okay? The bar graph shows the number of students enrolled at a community college in a given year. Use the bar graph to answer the following questions. How many students were enrolled in 1990? Yeah, because it looks like it's right on that number, 3,000. So this is just reading the graph. We see here we have years, here we have total students enrolled, right? A lot of times with graphs, they might write 2 and then they might say in thousands. So that's another thing to be aware of, okay? How many students were enrolled in 2005? 7,000. Does everybody see where we're getting this number here? Imagine there was a bar, if we really wanted to make it a bar graph. How many more students were enrolled from 2005 to 2000 than in 2009 or 1990? Can't even read the year anymore. 4,000 more. How'd you get that? Right. So you just subtracted the two numbers. How many more students? What was the overall enrollment increase? Overall enrollment increase? What does that really mean? From 2010, because now you're getting into a different number. From 1990 to 2010, the overall increase was, you said 7,000. Where'd you get 7,000 from? Oh, 3,000 here, and this was 10,000 here. So it went up, increase of 7,000. Good. What was the percent increase? Okay, so percent increase, and this is from 1990 to 1995. So first we could figure out what the increase was, right? So it went from 3,000, what was it in 1995? 4,000. So the increase was 1,000. Increase was 1,000. It's actually 1,000 out of the original number. So the increase was 1,000 because we saw that it increased that much. The original number was 3,000. So if we want to figure out that percent, we're literally we could divide it. We could set it equal to x over 100 to find the percent. This will give us the percent. Or we could just divide. So we have 1,000 divided by 3,000 is, now that's the decimal. If that's the decimal, what percent is that? 33, yes, 33%. Because when we take the fraction and we divide, remember we change it into a decimal. To make a decimal into a percent, we multiply it by 100. So I actually left out the 0.3 repeating part. So that would be 33%. So anytime we want to find, this should go in your notes, okay? To find the percent increase, this is especially for those of you going on to Math 98, this is going to be a big topic, okay? Percent increase. Percent, you see it everywhere. But the percent increase, we take the increase and we divide it by the original. If you set it up using the percent proportion, you know, using the x over 100 to find the percent, then that will still give you the 33%, okay? What is the percent increase to the nearest tenth? Oops, I didn't round correctly, sorry. This would be approximately 33.3%. So how are we going to find the percent increase from 2005 to 2010? Well, we need those numbers. 7,000, you said, was the enrollment in 2005. 10,000 was the enrollment in 2010. So what was the increase? 3,000 is the increase. And what am I going to put as the original number? Yes, because I take the 2005, that's my original number, 7,000. So 3,000 divided by 7,000 is the same thing as 3/7, isn't it? You see how I reduce that fraction? Yeah, so let's go ahead and go 3 divided by 7 equals, okay, if I round it to 1 decimal place, this is my decimal, 0.42857. What is that as a percent? So that's just the decimal right there. Yeah, well, we're going to round it to 1/10. So to make it into a percent, we're going to move the decimal over 2 or multiply by 100. So this is equal to 42.9% if I round it off. So everybody see where I got the 42.9% from? I rounded up. Why did I need to round this 8 to a 9?
Because the numbers are saved.
Yes. The 5 next to it makes the 8 round up to a 9. Okay, and that's rounded to 1/10 of a percent. Right here, 1 decimal place is 1/10 of a percent. So just be careful, especially on your final, to always look and see what decimal place you want to round to when you get a decimal. Yes, question?
Yeah, so when it says, like in this, you know, it's 1%, so it says right here, it's 10. Does that mean it's always going to be a decimal?
Yeah, if it's 1/10, you'll have 1 decimal place.
So the
Hundredth,
decimal place
2.
is the code.
Yes.
That's the like the key there. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
decimal.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And because they're asking for the percent, that's the reason why I'm taking 1/10 of a percent, right? Because the number in the 10th place on the decimal is 0.4.
Oh, okay.
But when I change it into a percent, then I want to go ahead and round it because it's asking for a percent and then it's asking for 1/10. That's why I'm taking 1/10. That number that I'm rounding is actually technically in the decimal place. It's actually 1,000th place, but we're wanting 1/10 of a percent. Okay, any other questions on this? I want to show you guys one more problem before we end. And I know I'm talking long. This is the last thing, okay? When you have a circle graph, okay, it is always broken into hundreds. So 100%, sorry, 100% is the whole thing. So let's just say this was your grade. This is not really how your grade is broken down, but let's say 25% came from quizzes. Okay, 25% came from homework, 25% came from classwork, and 25% came from tests. I just wanted to use those numbers, okay? All this will always add up to 100. Why am I calling this part of the pie 25%? It's a quarter, exactly 1/4. 1/4 is equal to 25%, okay? Oh, very good. Homework, you were doing homework. You were doing a portion of your grade. Yes, sure. Okay, so let's say then that there are 800 points possible. Okay, how many points are in each category? So how would I figure that out? If I have 800 points possible, I actually made the categories all even. So that's why if you find one, you're going to find all of them. What would be some strategies to figure out how many points are in homework, how many points are in classwork, tests, quizzes? 800. You could actually divide by 4. Why divide by 4? There's 4 equal pieces. Oh, that's 1/4. 1/4 of 800 is the same thing as 800 divided by 4. So how many would be in each category? How many points? 200 points each. That's actually going to be the same exact math if you go 25 out of 100. 25% is 25 out of 100 equals x out of 800. If you set up the proportion and do it that way, you're still going to get x equals the 200, right? Okay, so that's pretty much summing up what I want to say about data and statistics today.